on a cloudy, snowy, and cold day after New Year's Day, Thursday afternoon. Welcome on into the bullpen. I am your host, Adam the Bull. Dustin Fox not with me today. He's out and about in the Bahamas. He'll rejoin me next Thursday at this time. The first podcast of 2025. Let me first say thank you to everybody that has contributed to this podcast. Today we've got Z and Alex producing, but Brian Monzo, obviously, and Max, who produces often with us. Thanks to all those guys for all their hard work as part of the podcast and our social media team that do such a good job putting out videos and all that stuff and promoting the podcast. And mostly thanks to all of you, all of my great fans and listeners who have supported me. I just ran into a guy about a half hour ago. I ran into the supermarket to get something real quick, and I saw this guy. He comes up to me, and he's like, man, I miss you on the radio, but I love watching your post game in the bullpen, and I appreciate that. It's good to be back with Dustin again. Not today, obviously, but, working with him again on both here and on UCSS. It's a lot of fun, but none of this happens without the great support of you, all the fans out there. So as we start yet another year together, and I'll be honest with you, I hate when people say I'll be honest with you, because it indicates you might be lying at other times. But I've said this before, I'll say it again. I loved doing the radio for all those years. And then after COVID, it became a little hard for a variety of reasons. And it was just too much time. And I so much love what I'm doing between the podcast and the UCSS. I have so much fun doing both. I work with great people. I interact with great fans. And I said to my wife, I don't think I'm ever going to retire. Maybe I'll be forced to someday. I don't know. I'm not thinking about that for a minimum of 10 more years. But I love doing this, and I think I'd rather drop dead on the mic at some point, hopefully later rather than sooner, if I can get my weight under control. But not to get too morbid, but I love doing this. I'm having so much fun, and all you great fans, make it so possible. Coincidentally enough, I'm talking about my health. I got a text that I got distracted by for a second. I get a text saying, your appointment with your primary care doctor is all set for Monday. Anyway, so thanks again. Thanks for being part. I've been part of the Cleveland market since 2011. It's hard to believe we're in 2025. When I first moved to Cleveland in the summer of 2011, if you would have told me that I would still be working in Cleveland in the winter of 2025, I would have told you no chance. My goal and I've admitted this before, when I first moved here, before I had any connections here, my goal here was this was going to be a stepping stone to get to Chicago or back to New York. And as the years have gone by, as I've turned down opportunities to go other places, including a couple that I seriously considered, now I can't imagine. My wife and I just spent the last week visiting family in New York and New Jersey, and we both said to each other, man, we are so happy in Cleveland. We are so happy where we live in the community we've built here in Rocky River. We couldn't imagine moving back to the New York, New Jersey area. And if you would have told me I would have said that 14 years ago, I would never have believed you, and that's 100% where I am. I can tell you with 99.999% certainty that I would never move, and this is no slight against where I'm from. I love my roots in New York. I wouldn't trade where I grew up in Brooklyn for anything in the world. It will always be a part of me, but I would never, at this point, want to live in the New York, New Jersey area again. Never. I'd have to be making $2 million a year to even consider it, which is not going to happen. So so I love it. And I'm kind of rambling here, and I got a lot of sports to talk about, but I just kind of wanted to share that as we get the podcast started. And part of that is because how much I've been embraced by the community, how much I love the community, and that's my local community in terms of things I do in the world, like Little League and fall ball and other sports that my son's involved with, and theater, the Beck Center, which I love, and also the community in the sports community, sports radio / TV / podcast community with the great people of Bet Rivers and the great people of Tegna and the great fans and the great people of 92.3 The Fan, who I spent so many years with as well. So just wanted to ramble about that for a little bit. Let me also spend another minute. If you saw this on UCSS, you'll have to bear with me again. I am, without a doubt. I mean, we can't debate this. You've already known that I'm a very confident, some would say arrogant person. There's no denying. In fact, Z, who's the producer of this podcast, just said to me before the show, this is true what you're about to say. He said, you are the fantasy god. And I appreciated that Z said that. I am the fantasy sports god. I would like to be referred by that name whenever possible. I played in 7 fantasy sports leagues this year, 1 baseball. I won a championship. 6 for football. I won 4 championships. And even the 2 teams, a dynasty and a keeper league team, that I knew I didn't have great teams, that I was going to build for the future on those teams coming in. I won the first overall draft pick in the rookie league. Unlike the NFL, where the worst team gets the pick, in fantasy, it's the best of the 6 teams that didn't make the playoffs, and that was me. So I'm going to declare myself the fantasy god. And I know many of you will say, well, nobody cares about your fantasy, and that's fair. But I'm still going to brag about it, and you'll have to put up with me for 3 more seconds on that. All right, let's keep it moving. So let's talk about the Browns. It is painful. The team is hideous. They're 3-13, heading mercifully into the final game of the season. At Bet Rivers, we have them now as a 17.5-point underdog. I've seen other places where they're as much as a 19-point dog. They are the biggest underdog this season. The Ravens still have something to play for, obviously. It's the first game of the week, 4:30 on Saturday. The Ravens need to win the AFC North. Now, if the Steelers lose, the Ravens would also win the AFC North. However, the Ravens are playing first and then the Steelers, and so they won't know that. What's interesting is that the Bengals are still alive for a playoff spot, and if the Ravens win, which is likely, the Steelers then have nothing to play for, and you wonder if the Steelers will then sit some of their guys. I'll be curious to see what they do there. Now, the Bengals, obviously a long shot to make the playoffs because in addition to winning, that's not a long shot. They're actually favored this week. But they need the Chiefs, who are resting all their starters, to win in Denver. And they need the Dolphins also to lose. They're playing somebody bad. I forgot who it is. Who the hell are the Dolphins playing? Oh, yeah, they're playing the Jets. And we saw how bad the Jets were last week. Dolphins are only a 1-point favorite. I know they got backup quarterback situation, but I don't know. And the Chiefs are a significant underdog, obviously, this week. But, did we change it to 19? Now we have it at 19? Wow. So I said I saw it somewhere else for 19. We've got it at 19 now. Unbelievable. And look at that over-under. It's only 41. A 19-point favorite for. In other words, Vegas thinks. Forget Vegas. We here at Bet Rivers think that the Ravens. I predicted. Well, I'll tell you right now. I'm picking the Ravens to win this game 52-0. The Browns. I know the Ravens' defense isn't that good, but the Browns have nothing on offense. They have no running game. They have no quarterback. Jerry Jeudy has been, made the Pro Bowl. Good for him. Had a good year, but it was mostly with Jameis Winston. Hasn't done much with the other guys. The Browns are going to get absolutely boat raced. As a fan base, I think fans just want to see the team get the first pick in the draft, which is possible. As of this minute, the Browns have the 3rd pick in the draft behind Tennessee and New England. Now, remember, the tiebreaker, because the Patriots, Titans, Browns, and Giants all have 3 wins. The tiebreaker for the schedule or for the draft order is strength of schedule in reverse. So the team that's played the easiest schedule based on the winning percentage of your opponents gets the highest pick. In other words, you have the same record, but you did it against an easier schedule. So you get the benefit of that in terms of the draft. So as of now, the Patriots would be first. And the Titans would be second. The Patriots' strength of schedule is 445. The Titans is 512. The Browns is 531. And then the Giants is 535. So obviously the Browns are playing a really good team, but so are the Giants, right? They play somebody really good. I can't remember who it is. They play the Eagles. Well, the Eagles have nothing to play for. So I don't know. What's interesting is the Titans are actually favored this week because they're playing the Texans, who have nothing to play for. The Patriots are a slight dog against the Bills because the Bills got nothing to play for. Now, the Patriots are terrible. They got destroyed by the Chargers last week. But I don't think it's impossible to think that the Titans and Patriots could both win. And if the Titans and Patriots both win, the Browns will get the first pick in the draft. Even if the Giants lose also, the Browns' strength of schedule will remain slightly lower than the Giants, even if both lose. So I wouldn't hold my breath for New England and Tennessee to both win. But because they're playing teams that are resting starters, I think it's entirely possible. That's worth a lot of points in a game. For the Browns, it's not the case. So the only thing really to look forward to, I know it's a lot of people feel it's a loser mentality to root for your team to lose a game, and I get that. But what is the point? I mean, there's no chance on earth the Browns are going to win this football game. I know. I guess I should say crazier things have happened, but the odds of them winning are so slim. To me, I'm hoping the Browns lose. I'm hoping they get the first overall pick in the draft. Now, if the Browns do pick one, I'm not taking a quarterback. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to trade down. And I don't personally – now, I have always admitted to you folks that I am not an expert on the NFL draft. I'm not full of baloney. I'm not going to be one of these guys who goes out there and pretends he's an expert on the draft. I'm not. But I listen to the experts, and I pay a whole lot of attention, especially as we've gotten to the end of the year and the Browns are playing meaningless football. And based on what I've heard and been told, but mostly heard same things as you have, I don't think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are the answer. And if I'm the Browns, with the state of this organization right now, I am not taking a quarterback at 1-1 that has as many question marks as these guys do. If you presented me with somebody that you were sure was a sure thing, okay. But I don't think there's anybody that believes either of these quarterbacks is a sure thing. I would not draft a quarterback. If I'm the Browns, I'm trading down. I'm not trading far down. In a perfect world, I only trade down to 3 or 4 or 5, and that's about it. Because I want to get one of the super elite players. They'll be there at 3, 4, 5. I'm trading down to one of those spots, hopefully. Let's say it ends, and let's say the Patriots and the Titans drop to 3. We'll say the Giants lose. Let's say the Patriots and the Titans drop to 3 and 4 in the draft, and the Browns are 1. Okay, well, New England doesn't need a quarterback, so they're not trading up. The Giants are at 2. Well, and Tennessee's at 3. So they might trade up. The Jets right now are at 7, but they could be in a lot of different spots. The Raiders at 8, but they could be a little higher too, depending on how it shakes out. Again, I don't want to drop too far, but the Jets, Vegas, the Giants, and Tennessee all need a quarterback. Maybe Carolina, although if I were them, I'd stick with Bryce Young. Jacksonville is financially committed to Trevor Lawrence. I don't think they're going to move on. Obviously, New England just drafted a quarterback. The Browns need one, but if I were them and I got the first pick, I would trade down. If they end up where they are, which is 3rd, well, then you stay there and you take the best player. Now, what's interesting is, again, New England, the team you really want to get ahead is New England, potentially, because New England could trade, right? If New England stays in the top 2, well, some other team's going to probably try to trade with New England. Now, the best case scenario is if the Browns are at 3, it's not the best case. The best case is 1. But if the Browns are at 3, that New England stays at 1, drafts, Travis Hunter or whoever, then the Titans take a quarterback, and then the Giants, the Jets, Vegas, who are all going to be drafting between 4 and 9, one of them gets desperate, makes the Browns a huge offer of draft picks, and there you go. And then you don't – but, again, you don't want to drop too far. Certainly, I don't really want them to drop out of the top 5 or 6. Definitely not out of the top 10. They need to get one of the elite players in this draft. But this is an opportunity to build up some draft capital that you've lost out with the awful Deshaun Watson trade. I did read the article on ESPN. Those guys did a great job. Daniel, I'm not sure how to pronounce Daniel's last name, covers the Browns now for ESPN. Ofusu, I think is how you say his last name. I apologize, Daniel. I should know it now. But he and, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Jeremy Fowler. Oh, yeah, Fusi and Jeremy Fowler wrote a great article at ESPN. It was very interesting. But what I'll say is they're part of the conversation is they're saying, well, Deshaun Watson's going to be back in the mix next year. He's going to have a chance to compete. I just don't buy it. They're saying these things now. That's fine. I'm sure that's what the Browns, told those guys, but I don't believe it. There's no way. There's too many guys on the team that don't like him. The fans don't like him. It is time to move on. Whether that means keeping him on the roster technically and telling him to go home. Nobody wants to see, most people do not want to see Deshaun Watson back on the field anymore. Hopefully that does not happen. He is shot as a football player. He has been horrible and hurt. He hasn't played any decent football in almost 5 years. So there you go. All right, that's it on the Browns for now. Before I get to the Buckeyes, let me tell you this. We got some really cool things starting the new year with Bet Rivers. If you want to play squares, everybody loves squares this time of the year. Players can play same-game parlays on college football and NFL games to earn squares. Our exclusive Squares game offers additional chances at profit boosts, bonus bets, and many $10,000 jackpots. For more info, check out betrivers.com or use the BetRivers app. All right. Now, I have beaten the shit out of Ryan Day. And I've admitted I got a personal issue. He wronged a friend. And I don't like Ryan Day. But I cannot allow that to cloud my judgment. And I got to give Ryan Day a lot of credit. As bad as that Michigan loss was, as ill-prepared as they were to play that game, it has been totally the opposite. And in the 2 playoff games that the Buckeyes have played so far. And at this point, the Buckeyes look by far like the best team in college football. Obviously, this afternoon, you have Notre Dame and Georgia. They are the favorite, as you see here at Bet Rivers, to win the college football playoff at plus 100. They're basically even money to win it. They have just destroyed their 2 opponents. And they have been more than ready, as ready to play as you could ever possibly be. That's the case with the Ohio State Buckeyes. What they did to the previously undefeated and a team that beat them in Oregon was unbelievable. They absolutely boat raced this team 41-21 and have outscored 2 opponents. Oregon. They've outscored 2 opponents that had lost a combined, 2 games before this? They crushed between Tennessee and Oregon 83-38. They were never really games. They pulled away early. Will Howard has played magnificent football in these 2 games. He's a combined 41 for 55, 630 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. As bad as he and they played against Michigan, he's been spectacular against 2 teams. And if you look at the last 3 games, the 2 playoff games, their win against Indiana, against teams ranked in the top 10, they have won all of those games by 20 or more points. And even the 20 against Oregon is misleading because Ohio State had that game in the bag at halftime. I give Ryan Day a lot of credit for all the shit he took from guys like me. Deservedly so. He has shut us up. I don't think he was going to get fired anyway, even though I and many others wanted him to. But he is not going to get fired now. They play Texas next Friday at the Cotton Bowl. And I think they're going to win it all now. There's every reason to believe that they will. Texas had an exciting game against Arizona State, which they won. How they didn't call it targeting on that one play, I'll still never know. But they beat Arizona State in double overtime. But Ohio State at the moment looks unbeatable. Their defense is playing great. Their offense is playing great. And I'm not going to be one of these guys who poo-poos it by saying, well, where was it against Michigan? Yeah, that part individually, where was it against Michigan, is frustrating. But that you can't use that, in my opinion, to knock. He and they have learned their lesson from that ugly, ugly defeat, and they have put it all out there and have played absolutely amazing. And the biggest reason why, besides the quarterback, what we talking about, Jeremiah Smith, who, I mean, it's crazy. This guy is a freshman. He's 18 years old. He is just, I don't even know what to say. This guy, the talent of this player is crazy. Dane Brugler of The Athletic said he'd be the first pick in the draft as an 18-year-old. 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns. He was great in the game yesterday. In the 2 playoff games, after they barely got him the ball against Michigan, in the 2 playoff games, he has 13 catches, 290 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I mean, he averaged over 17 yards per reception against Tennessee. He averaged almost 27 yards per reception against Oregon. He has been phenomenal. They have been phenomenal. Just a great job. All right, I want to get to the Cavs to wrap things up. First, let me read some messages in the chat. Marty says, live in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. 2025 going to be the best year yet for Bull. Thank you, Marty. Appreciate it. Dave says, breaded toast. I don't know what that means. Breaded toast. Dave says, go Browns. Amramps, Adam, you are one of us. Thank you, Amramps. I am one of you. You are one of me. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. That might have been inappropriate. Tafster says, boy, the Browns suck bad. Z says, we're making Fantasy Sport God t-shirts. I love it. John says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, John. Another John says, the Browns reek. Vernell says, hey, we could be the Jets. I mean, I guess that could be worse. At least the Browns have a better pick. It's not much worse. Dave Booth, O-line at number 1. Steve says, trade the pick for more. We need young players. Dontavia says, Giants beat us in the regular season. That's not a tiebreaker for draft pick, but it is an embarrassing stat. Vernell says, if we get the first pick, we should fleece someone for the spot. I'm sorry, I don't trust the 3 guys with the good draft capital. That's fair. I don't trust them either. We may not have a choice. I've given you my thoughts on wanting them gone, but that's not going to happen. Kyle says, taking a quarterback would be unbelievably dumb. Too many young quarterbacks being thrust into the league before protection is built around them. I don't think it has to do with that. That's part of it, but it depends on the quarterback. And I agree with you. I think it would be a mistake for the Browns. Dave says, spring training not far away. Go Guards. Yes, Dave. Next month. Can't wait. Tafter says, time to let Miles go. We got to trade him. They may trade him. Vernell says, I don't like any of the quarterbacks in the top 10. Marketville, why not trade Watson for Joe Burrow? Bailey says, call me crazy, but I wouldn't mind taking Will Howard with a mid to late round pick. Thoughts on that, Bull? I don't see it. But again, I'm not a draft expert, but he doesn't seem to me to be a frontline quarterback in the NFL. Maybe he's in the league. I don't know. I'll pass. I think that's being like prisoner of the moment. Let's see. Jillian, Allen and Garland getting disrespected on the All-Star voting. I'm glad you said that, Jillian, because I want to switch gears to the Cavs. The All-Star voting came out. That's the fans. Like, the fact that Lonzo Ball is, or what Ball is number 1. I forget which Ball brother it is. I should know that. LaMelo Ball. His numbers are meaningless. He's on a terrible team. All he does is stat pad and chuck shots. He's a great talent, no doubt, but is he trying to win? Guy's never played a playoff game. And ultimately, if Darius Garland doesn't make the All-Star team, it's a fans' game. The fans get to vote who they want. The Cavs should have at least – we know Donovan Mitchell's going to make the All-Star team, Evan Mobley, who was not high in the voting, will probably make it. Jared Allen, I don't think Jared Allen's going to make the All-Star team, and that's fine. I think Darius Garland should, but I don't know if he will. But this team has a 29-4. I believe it's the fourth best record in the NBA in the history of the NBA at this point in the season, behind the Bulls team the great Bulls team that set the wins record, the great Warriors team, or the Bulls team won a championship. The Warriors team obviously lost to the Cavs, and a Celtics team. I can't remember which Celtics team. I want to say earlier this century that won a championship as well. So they're in the company of greatness. They're having a magnificent season. I said earlier today, and I think we need to look this up. I think the Cavs have a chance to become, and I can't think of another example because we looked at a couple of examples today. But I think the Cavs, and there's the Cavs odds. They're up to tied for third to win the NBA title at plus 1,000. Guys, I'm assuming the Celtics and the Thunder are ahead. Is that the case? And who are they tied with? That's all right. Tied with the Knicks. Okay. And the Knicks are playing great too. And we knew they'd get off to a slow start. There's a lot of new people. But the Cavs for a while were like 6th, 7th in the odds here at Bet Rivers. Now we got them at plus 1,000. They were higher than that. I still, listen, Boston is going to be tough. And the Cavs, I got to prove it in the playoffs. But they're in rarefied air here with this 29-4 record. It's crazy. So, all right, here's the thing that I think the Cavs have a chance to do that no other team ever has done. And it's not just about the Cavs being great. It's also about the ineptitude of the football team in this town. So, when I think it was the Warriors. So, the Warriors in the 15-16 season set the record 73-9. The Raiders at the time obviously still were in Oakland. The Raiders that year lost 9 games in their 2015 into early 16 season. So they tied. The Warriors and the Raiders had the same amount of losses, which is crazy because one sport you're playing 82 games, one sport you're playing at the time 16, now 70. When the Bulls originally broke that record, 72-10, set that record, the Bears that year lost less than 10 games. The Browns probably going to finish with 14 losses. The Cavaliers only have 4 losses. If the Cavaliers win, 69 games, which means they'd have to go to win 69 games. The Cavs have, 33, 49 games left. So for the Cavs to win 69 games, they'd have to go 30. No, that's wrong. 29 to 40 and 9 the rest of the season. So if the Cavs go 40-9 the rest of the season, which is winning a little over 80% of their games, and at this point in the season, they've certainly won more than that. Their winning percentage is just under 88%. If the Cavs go 40-9 or better, I believe that they will become the first team in the history of the NBA to lose less games than their city NFL counterpart. Because, as I said, the Raiders tied the Warriors. The Bears lost less than the Bulls. I think think that's it. I guess if I real quick look at the all-time, let's see, all-time wins leaders NBA. Is there a team I could possibly be forgetting? All-time wins NBA. I don't know, coaches. NBA regular season. Okay. Single season. So, all right, the Warriors, we had the Warriors, the Bulls. The Lakers in 71-72, they lost 13 games. I can't imagine. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to look that up. We'll have to look up. There's a couple of teams that lost 13 or 14. We'll see if there was a team in that city that happened to be terrible. Maybe in 72-73, the Patriots were really bad. We'll see. But it's kind of an oddball stat, obviously. But I think it's entirely possible here that could happen. As for the Cavs and the way they're playing, it's been magnificent. They've been so much fun to watch. They won the 15 in a row to start the season. They've won 8 in a row and 12 of 13 now. They have only scored less than 110 points twice this year. Now, think about this. The Cavs have only scored less than 114 points 3 times this season. 3. I'm sorry. I think it's actually 4 because they scored 113. I think it's 3 or 4 times. They've scored under 114 4 times this year. There are 19 teams in the NBA of the other 29 that are averaging less than 114. Averaging. The Cavs have only been under 114 4 times. They scored. I'm going to double check that, make sure I'm right about that. The Cavs scored 113 in a win over Detroit, October 25th. 110 in a win over the Knicks, October 28th. That's 2. 105, a win against Brooklyn, November the 9th. That's 3. Let's see. 101, lost to Atlanta on the 29th. That's 4. 113 against the Heat, December 8th. That's 5. And 113, December 30th against the Warriors. So 6 times. So the Cavs have scored 114 or more 27 out of 33 games, and 19 out of the other 29 teams are averaging less than what the Cavs have scored, which is the bottom of what they've scored in 27 out of 33 games. That's just crazy. The Cavs right now have one of the best point differentials in the history of the NBA. They're outscoring their opponents by almost 12 points per game, 11.9. Believe it or not, it's actually only the second best in the league. Oklahoma City is giving up is their point differential, and they've won 12 in a row, is even 12. What's crazy is, as great a season as the Cavs are having, they're only a game and a half up on Oklahoma City for the best record in the NBA. You have 2 teams that could possibly win 70 games this year. It's not crazy. And even the Celtics are still at single-digit losses at 24-9. The Knicks have won 9 in a row. They're playing great. Some of the top teams are really, really good. Memphis has been sensational. They're scoring, actually, the only team in the NBA scoring more points per game than the Cavs, averaging 123.2. And you have 5 teams in the NBA: Cleveland, Boston, the Knicks, Oklahoma City, and Memphis that are averaging 8.3 points per game or more in point differential, which is just huge. I think that I believe the Bulls team that won 72 only had average margin of victory of like 6 points. Not average margin of victory, but point differential of 6 and change points, which is just bonkers. Cavs will play tomorrow night. They'll continue their road trip in Dallas, which is a really exciting game. Get to see our old buddy Kyrie Irving. And then one more road. Oh, no. Then they come home, play Sunday against a bad Charlotte team. But then the big game. You got 2. Obviously, the Friday game is huge. But then Wednesday next week, or Friday, meaning tomorrow, on the road. But the next big home game, it'll be on ESPN Wednesday night next week as the Cavs host Oklahoma City. In fact, they play Oklahoma City twice in an 8-day stretch. Home game next Wednesday, and then at the Thunder Thursday the 16th. Both games on national TV. Next week on ESPN for the home game. The following week on the road, they're on TNT. They're also playing on Tuesday the 14th on TNT against Indiana. So a lot of national games coming up there. They got 3 games on ESPN in late February, early March. Another TNT game against Orlando in February. Cavs are playing great. They deserve more credit and more recognition than they've gotten. Evan Mobley having a magnificent season. So a lot to be excited about with this team, which that feels like such an anti-Browns team. All right, thanks everybody. Like I said, love to all of you. I really appreciate it. Thanks to Alex and thanks to Z for producing today. And Dustin will be back with me when he returns from the Bahamas next Thursday at 2 o'clock again. And I'll be back on for the final Browns post-game show. I'll be on immediately following, or almost immediately following, the Browns what probably be an ugly season finale against the Baltimore Ravens this Saturday, somewhere 7:30, probably around 7:30 or so. I'll see you then. Until then, I'll see you next time. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody. Bye.